Welcome back to the Cellar podcast. We have a special episode today with a special guest. You may have seen her on WRAL TV news. Laurel Wheeler is here from Finland. How you doing today, Laurel?
I'm doing great. How are you gentlemen doing?
Despite the couple of losses, we're doing great, and we're better with you here on the program with us. Let me tell you, you have an unbelievably fantastic story that when we saw it, immediately said, we have to have Laurel join us on the program and share her story because it's absolutely amazing. And so, we're going to jump right into it. Now, of course, the whole aspect of this podcast, Brad and I both Caniacs from afar, right? I'm in Canada, he's in Massachusetts, but you have us trumped in that in a sense because you are a Caniac from Texas via Finland. Why don't you fill us in on that because it's a great story.
Yeah, so it's true. I live and study in Helsinki, Finland. I'm a grad student at the University of Helsinki, and I am originally from the Dallas-Fort Worth area here. And so I became a Hurricanes fan pretty much in the middle of COVID. Last August, when they were getting ready to play playoff bubble hockey, they were going to the playoffs. The bubble was going, and it's because I was getting ready to study Finnish, and I had started learning Finnish on my own, but I really wanted to improve it quickly because I was getting ready to move over there, and I decided, okay, how can I improve my Finnish? Well, I was a big hockey fan, but just kind of a casual fan. I'd been a Stars fan for a while, and because I'm from Dallas and they're the team that's pretty much on TV or the radio. Down in Texas, there's not, a ton of hockey just all over, the TV and radio. So it was the Stars. So but I said, okay, I'm going to use what I know, try to learn hockey. I know there's a ton of Finns in the NHL. So I started YouTubing and Googling NHL Finland, looking for Finnish content. And I found it right away. And it was a ton of Hurricanes content, featuring Sebastian Aho and Teuvo Teravainen, and at the time Sammy Vatanen also was there. A bunch of it, interviews, funny bits, Finnish TV shows, everything. So I started watching it, and I started memorizing as much of it as I could because I knew it was going to help me learn Finnish. And obviously, hockey was being played. We were playing the Rangers at the time. So I said, okay, well, if I'm going to get into this, I want to watch Hurricanes hockey live. So I would go to work and I would come home and sit in my apartment, put the games on the radio, put my headphones on and listen to the Hurricanes play because I wanted to know, okay, what's this team all about? I knew about the Stars. I didn't know about the Hurricanes, but I was loving their content. So I'm like, well, I've got to become a fan. I was sold. I was hooked. So I'm not the kind of person that just does anything halfway. I'm pretty much all in or I'm not in at all. So I wanted to become as much of an educated fan as I could. And so I jumped in, I got involved on Reddit. I started talking to people. I started learning as much as I could about the team. And well, by the time we were playing Boston, I was hooked, obviously. So the rest is history. I mean, there's Dirty Boston, the first NHL team I ever hated.
Yeah.
Marchand and Bergeron, I think they're kind of dirty, but
That's a great.
You and 250 other million American
fans, yeah. As long as you're not cheering for Boston, that's what you think of those guys. That's to be sure.
But I mean, I became by the end of our season, I was hooked. I was like, well, I'm a Caniac, so I, was talking to people on Reddit who are Finnish speaking, following the Canes and following hockey. And you know what? When I started my classes online in Finnish, I was able to sit there and remember things I had heard hockey related from the Hurricanes content or different hockey TV shows from Finland that I had seen. And it really actually did help my language learning. So
That's
I moved
incredible.
to Finland, and when the season rolled around in January, hockey really, really helped me after my move. I moved over there, and when I did that, I had a working guide dog. His name was Will. He would watch the games and got his gold kibbles and everything like that. Unfortunately, he passed away suddenly due to a medical emergency on Christmas Day.
Oh, man.
So in the middle of the night, on Christmas Day, it was pretty traumatic. I'm not going to lie. I'm already a Canes fan. I'm already diehard, love the Canes. But then when hockey season rolls around, of course, the games are like at 2 a.m. And that really helped me because it was challenging at night. I would dream about having lost Will. Hockey was sort of an escape.
an excellent escape it is, especially when you're talking about in Finland. And I'll jump into this next part because, you've already hit on it. You touched on, of course, the stars of today, but, Carolina has a long history with Finnish players, guys like Sami Kapanen, who, Brad and I love to death. I mean, Tuomo Ruutu, the way that they played. And is that like, do you find yourself in Finland that there are a lot of Hurricane fans out there with you? Or, Finland's a hockey nation as well, just like, kind of Canada is also, right? They love their hockey. They play hard. They do a lot. Is it predominantly Hurricanes fans, or is there a good spread throughout the entire league?
So I would say that there is a pretty good mix because you've got a lot of Finns now. I mean, I think this year we had a record 60 in the NHL.
Yep.
I believe, last I read. And so I would say that the Hurricanes are one of the biggest teams. Of course, Joni Pitkanen is still a fan favorite over in Finland. And I would say outside of the Hurricanes, if you're walking around at the store, I haven't found a lot of Canes contents, at the store in Finland, but I've seen Star stuff. I've seen a little bit of Preds, sadly, but they do have 5 Finns. So, I mean, I guess if you're going for quantity. And then I've seen, there's fans of, Pittsburgh's and the Sidney Crosbys and any of the star, players in the NHL. But I would say that the Hurricanes are probably in the top 5 favorite teams in Finland.
I'll take that.
I've met fans from, of course, both online and in person from, Helsinki, but then Oulu, of course, Sebastian is from Oulu, but Turku and Lappeenranta and all over. There's quite a few Finnish people who are in the Hurricanes fan group that we're all part of, actually.
Well, Laurel, you have a really unique situation as a fan, and we learned this in the WRAL interview that you did. You are visually impaired. Now, tell us a little bit about that and your experience in enjoying a hockey game, a fast-paced game through the visual impairment. And we'll get to the second part after, because you have a very unique ability that both Brad and I love to death. But I want to hear the first little bit to tell us about your experiencing a game, even though visually impaired, you're taking it all in and you're loving it. You're following it. Great. Tell us about it.
So the first important part, if you're visually impaired, of being a sports fan, because you're right, it is a very fast-paced game. And you guys, when you sighted people, are watching the TV and you're tracking the action as you see it, right? So I'm listening to everything. And everybody usually asks me, well, how do you keep up with that? Because it's so fast. I tell people auditory processing and listening is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the better it's going to get, right? So whether it's in sports or in my daily life, I have a screen reading program that I use with my computer that reads for me all of the text on screen. Well, it reads at 200% because the quicker I can get it to read for me, the quicker I can get through content and handle my daily life. Well, that right there trains your ear and your brain. Isn't really fast for me. It's at normal speed because my entire auditory processing has been trained to be really quick. So I grew up an American football fan, NFL and college football. And I know there's a lot of standing around between plays, but when they're playing pretty quickly. So I'd grown up listening to that on the radio and learning how to understand what was occurring on field based on the sounds of the game, right? So hockey wasn't my first sport. It was, my third or fourth or whatever. So I think I became a real hockey fan. I mean, a real Hurricanes fan, more than a casual fan, at a unique time. If you think about it, in August, there were no fans. So the only sounds in the entire stadium were what was happening on ice. So that is a really unique opportunity. If I had become a blind hockey fan, a real serious hockey fan at any other time, if I would have had such an opportunity to learn the sounds of the game so intricately. But essentially, what I did was I took a pair of noise canceling Bluetooth headphones. I worked out what different sounds of the game would mean, and I could pretty well work out what I was hearing. And I had some friends who were hockey fans online that I met through Reddit and other platforms that I could ask questions about so I could learn, because I really like to be a student of the game and to learn. I really began to learn, and as we touched on getting ready for this podcast, I would begin to learn, the sound of different skaters as they were on the ice, and different aspects of the game that I could figure out. And then as they added fans back recently, I didn't really lose that ability because I had already, trained my ear for what to listen for. It's a little bit harder to hear with 16,000 screaming Canes fans, but I love it. It's a great problem to have. I know what to listen for. So I think that's really it. I think it's a combination of my learning to process auditorily at a rapid speed, and also the time at which I became a rabid hockey fan. Very unique time in history,
Even today, I know for myself, I don't know about Ray, but listening to the games being called, I have trouble, not necessarily following the game, but I guess some of it's what you're used to. Like I said, you've been able to train your ears to keep up at that speed. And I feel like listening to the radio to a Canes game, to me, is like learning a second language, where I have to listen to the call.
Yeah.
Then I have to translate it into what I think I would see, instead of just kind of it being a natural process.
You're right. I mean, you guys have to, if you're not looking at the game and you're having to rely on someone else to describe it for you, you've got to interpret what they're saying and equate that to what you should be seeing. If you think about it, my entire life has been described for me. So
Oh, Laurel, yeah, that's such a great story, and a testament to the fact that what we say here is that hockey is for everyone. Now, I have to say, you made the pilgrimage to Raleigh from Finland in the middle of a pandemic because this is what the definition of Caniac is. If you are willing to cross the globe to catch a playoff game, that is true support. Tell us all about your trip in the middle of all of this. Like, did you have tickets? How did this work?
Listening to the players skate, and I'm listening to the holes in between, where they're going to shoot the puck. I can hear it. I can hear the open, and I'm just sitting there. And while I'm doing all of that, I'm, the official Hurricanes Caniac fan group that we're part of, I'm in there and I'm chatting with other Caniacs and just like messaging with them and talking about the game and hanging out. And of course, if you're part of the group, then you probably have seen, I have a tradition. I have a game day post that I do every day usually it's been from Finland. So I try to post something interesting facts about Finland or something I've seen. I take Canes pictures all over Helsinki. So I built this tradition, and I think a lot of people have enjoyed it, and it's made a lot of people smile, and people think Finland is super interesting. And I've met a lot of Caniacs from all over Europe, and so I've got this whole community thing happening all season long. So a couple of weeks ago, before I was looking to come home, I thought about and was anticipating coming to Texas to visit my family because I hadn't seen them in 7 months, and the borders were not going to open anytime soon to Finland. So the only way I was going to see them is if I came back. So I said one day in one of my game day posts, I said, guys, how do you get hold of playoff tickets? Because I have no idea how the process works or when, and I would love to come to Raleigh and come to a Canes game. But I need you guys, you veterans, to tell me what's going on. I don't know how it works. They're like, oh, we'll let you know. We'll tell you, we'll let you know what's up. I'm like, okay, cool. So a couple of days before I'm getting ready to come home, actually, a couple of Caniacs message me and they say, have you made plans to come to Raleigh yet? Are you going to come for round one? And I'm like, yes, I would love to come for round one. I'd love to try to get tickets. I don't have tickets yet, but I'd love to figure out how to get hold of some. And they said, well, if you can make it to Raleigh, we'll give you tickets to games 1 and 2. We got you.
Outstanding.
And I'm like, how much? How much? I mean, I don't know. For all I know, it's going to be expensive. And they're like, no, just you guys, just come here. We'll give you some of our tickets. You just come. We'll hang out. We'll hang out with you. We'll help you have a good time. Come to Raleigh. I'm like, oh my goodness. So of course, I start making my plans, but I couldn't wait. I couldn't buy my flight and stuff till they announced, because we were all sitting on pins and needles waiting for them to announce the dates, But basically, my mother also became a giant hockey fan and a Caniac because of me. Her name is Jamie. And it's really funny, guys. I'm 29 years old and I've tried to make a sports fan out of her my entire life. Never succeeded. In fact, she'd walk away when football was on TV or something. But man, she loves hockey.
Awesome.
I love it. Yeah,
Welcome aboard.
We watched nearly all of the Canes games together on FaceTime as a family, thousands of miles apart on FaceTime. So
your story gets better the more you talk. I just want to say that out loud.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
I took Mom with me, and we flew out to Raleigh Saturday before the playoffs on the 16th. We actually got there real early Sunday morning. And on Sunday afternoon, we got to meet and spend time with some other Caniacs, friends we made online. Then Monday, I got to go to my first game, which was amazing. We went tailgating, and I got to try my first Storm Brew. And, all of my friends that had been interacting with me online, they pretty much surrounded me in real life. Such a great time. And I loved it because my very first goal that I ever saw in person, so Teuvo Teravainen is my favorite player. And he was the one who scored that first goal that I've ever seen in person.
That is so awesome.
Can you beat that?
No, you can't. You absolutely cannot beat that. When your favorite player lights it up for you in person, that is a glorious thing to behold.
Not only in person, but the first goal I ever saw in person, guys.
Oh my
From the
gosh.
Hurricanes.
Ray, she says 3 more sentences and the story gets better again.
I know, it's unbelievable. I've got goosebumps listening to that. That was outstanding.
My friend Jody had come over. She was sitting in the next section over. She came over, and oh man, we were hugging and jumping up and down, and I was just so excited. Think about this, guys. At 2 a.m. in Helsinki, I had been silent because you can't wake your neighbors, right?
Yeah.
All of that pent up energy for 56, 55 games. Because the 56 last game, I was at home here with my family. We watched it together. Oh my gosh. I was so ready to let it loose.
That's so cool. And I'm not surprised by the Caniacs. I mean, I've mentioned before, I was lucky enough to be a season ticket holder in the earlier years. And Oiler fans come down for 2006 Stanley Cup Finals. No tickets, no plan. They just show up like, maybe we'll get in. If not, we'll watch it somewhere. And the Caniacs are so welcoming. I mean, you can walk around that parking lot and strike up a conversation with just about anybody who's there. And if people are tailgating, they'll be like, oh, like, do you want a beer? Do you want a drink? Do you want some barbecue? Do you want some chicken? And they don't want anything in return other than a little back and forth hockey talk, and trying to make a new friend. And I feel like our fans in that aspect are just amazing.
I'm going to jump in real quick, just with a very quick shout out to the East Lot tailgate group that's out there. They're the ones that entertained me on my pilgrimage. Humongous pig that they roasted all day on the first game with all the trimmings, the food, the beverages. It was amazing. The next day we did a clam bake, steam boil. It was, oh my gosh, they treat you like royalty. When you are a fan that comes from out of town, they welcome you in. You're a Caniac, you're a hockey fan. They bring you in, they treat you well, and you experienced it. You get into the barn, called it a barn because that's a Canadian thing, and you have to apologize for that. But another Canadian thing, apologizing. But you get inside the rink, and you can feel the energy. I mean, it must have been just electric for you, especially during the playoffs. I mean, my goodness, Laurel, your story just,
Did you guys get the Carolina barbecue going?
I was going to ask a curveball question. You're from Texas. Did you have North Carolina barbecue? And are you willing to admit that it's better?
Yes. Here's the thing, okay? I love both of them, but for different reasons, okay? I love the Texas sweet barbecue. That's good. So the truth is, if you really want to know, I used to eat sea salt and vinegar chips. It was my favorite chip flavor, okay? I can no longer eat that because I donated a kidney, so I can't have that much salt. So when I got a hold of some East Carolina barbecue, and that vinegary flavor hit my mouth.
My mouth is watering just thinking about that, Laurel. So, seriously, I need someone get me some ribs.
It's been 13 years and I can still taste it. A shout out to Parker's Barbecue.
Yeah. So I love both Texas and North Carolina for different reasons. They're so good. Oh my gosh, I want more.
There you go. All right.
I hear you. So we're going to wrap it up a little bit. This has been amazing. And your whole story is fantastic. We could spend another hour doing this, I think, and probably uncover some more layers. But moving on, we're looking ahead. The series is 2-2. Game 5 tomorrow night, 8:00. Do you have a prediction for us? Do you have a couple of quick sentences on anything you want to talk about?
I think that tomorrow, obviously both teams view it as a must win because if Nashville can win it, then they can bring it home and finish the series. So in their minds, it's a must win. but it's also a must win in our minds. We don't want to go to a game 7. That's not ideal. I think that tomorrow is going to depend on how healthy we are. I'm not sure if Slavin will be back, but we could benefit from him being back. I know Paquette is gone too. We're kind of hurting for him. I think that goalie is going to be a big deal. Who's in net? I can't imagine that Ned's not tired. Can you guys? I mean, a game and a half extra, basically.
Ned should be in goal if I had my way.
Yeah, it's the you make a good point. Like, it's the extra work. What is that going to do for him physically?
Yeah.
Is there exhaustion? I understand that, but in these cases, some of the saves that Ned made in both of those double overtime, I mean, we're hearing it up here in Canada as well. Like, the announcers are looking at these and they're saying these are save of the game saves over and over and over and over again. Like, he just keeps turning out these great performances. And do you punish a guy who is playing out of this world by pulling him? I think you still ride with the hot hand with Nedeljkovic. I think he's been fantastic, and I'd like to see him in. But you hit the nail on the head, Laurel, when you said Slavin. We need Jacob back. There is no question. The D is especially, and this is where we get to the exhaustion aspect of it, because when you're playing the double overtime games, it's your D lines that are taking in the extra minutes all the time, right? And so we really need to see Jacob back. He is that stabilizing anchor that you need on the D as well. And we need the sizzle to be the sizzle, and Brad knows what I'm talking about. We need Svech to show up, right? Because he's not been the guy that we needed.
Get going. Where's we need Troche to get going. We need a lot of our goal scorers to get fired up and get going. I think the thing we've got to our advantage too is that UC Saros is going to be just as tired as Ned. The Nashville guys are going to be just as tired as us.
Great point.
And frankly, I have to say, too, Lajoie, for his first games, really, can you imagine how much pressure that guy is under? Yeah.
I agree with both of you. I told Ray on the last podcast, rest Slavin for 4. If they win and it's a 2-2 series, you got to have Slavin if he can go. And some Caniacs aren't going to like this, but you need Garner. Garner is a fresh set of legs. He has not played those 2 overtime games. If you can put in Garner, he's playing a lot better than he did last year. People need to reevaluate what they think of the kid. By the third period, he should be skating circles around everybody else because he'll have fresh legs. Paquette did skate today. I don't know what that means for tomorrow night, but he's at least did skate today. And a couple of quick things that were just recently announced. John Forsland is calling the game.
Oh, thank you.
Goodness.
Thank you. John Forsland, by far. Like, look, as growing up, in Canada, we had guys like Bob Cole, like just famous names in hockey all the time. John Forsland. Hey, what do you say? Like, that's hockey, baby. Like, oh my God, we need him. We need him.
Even I know those iconic things. I know.
And we tweeted him the other day because he had put something out there, and we replied to him from the Storm Cellar account that, John, your family, you may not be here. We miss you and love you. Mike and Tripp are doing a great job, but it's hard to replace the best in the game.
Without question.
Forsland is great. And I enjoy listening to him call games. But I guess if you guys want me to make a decision about how I feel 5's going to go, I think we'll win it. I think we'll score the winning goal in the third period. I'll just be bold. Tripp says we're going to dig in and we're going to do it.
Laurel, who's got the game-winning goal in the third?
Well, if I'm biased, Teuvo Teravainen, he's my favorite
player.
There you go. Can I answer it any other way? Come on.
No, I don't think you can. When he's your favorite, you got to go with him. And we'd love to see Turbo really turn things up. This has been such a great
I'd like
episode.
to see Turbo be Turbo. Come on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When he came back, the lineup with Turbo in it is so much better than the lineup without.
Yes, it is. Statistically, I can literally prove it in every way. He improves every aspect of the game. People don't give enough credit for his ability to help out on defense, too. Literally every single statistical area, the Canes are better with him in there. It's ridiculous. He's awesome.
We agree with you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. I think I can speak for both of us. We've had a lot of fun speaking to you before and during the show. Hopefully this will continue because, Ray and I think are, we like meeting new Caniacs and making friends, but it's been a real pleasure to hear your story and have you share that with our listeners.
Laurel, an
Oh,
absolute
thanks for
pleasure.
having me on. I just, when you guys messaged me, because I love listening to sports podcasts and hockey stuff. And as soon as you guys messaged me, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. This would be so much fun. And it has been. So thanks for having me on. Go Canes, everybody. I'm hoping to try to make it back out there for round 2 if I can, or game 7, if God forbid there is one. But man, let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Let's do it indeed.
All right.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97. Our podcast is on all major podcast apps, including Apple, Google, and Spotify. Just search for Storm Cellar or find the direct links on our Facebook page. Our intro music is Year of the Exodus by Tech Warrior. You can find them on SoundCloud. Go Canes!